You're listening to This Week in America with Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. As mentioned on the program today, Alex Olinkowitz, our guest on the program. He's the author of the book In My Mind, A Journey Through My Life with Aspergers and Autism. Of course, several years ago, published the highly successful YouTube video that has been seen by over 1.3 million viewers. He wrote the book in collaboration with Dr. Richard O'Connell, and both join us on the program. Alex, Dr. O'Connell, welcome to This Week in America. Great to have you with us on the program.
Thank you, Alex.
That's my name.
Oh, well, I'm thanking you, too.
Yeah, thanking everybody. It's great to have you with us on the program. Doctor, I know you had a couple things you wanted to say, and then we'll start talking to Alex about the book.
Yes, I'm Dr. Richard O'Connell, a retired school guidance counselor, a New York State Counselor of the Year. And Alex and I are friends, and through our friendship and his YouTube, In My Mind, we came up with the idea of writing a book. It took 110 sessions, and in those 110 sessions, we reorganized it based on the eight symptoms of Asperger's. So that's his book. But more importantly, Alex is an extraordinary speaker. And he has spoken many, many times, and we as a team, both he, his father, and myself, have spoken at many, many conferences. And one of our aims today is to have Alex come to you folks and possibly speak, as well as to encourage you to read his book. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Alex.
Unlike me, I don't write a speech and speak it out. So,
So we will just talk then. That's great.
yeah, you get a more honest version of me.
As Dr. O'Connor said, one of the things that both are doing, Alex is going around the country and talking about his experiences. An email you can contact is docrock16@msn.com. That information is available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You'll have information on how you can contact Alex, how you can buy a copy of the book, how you can get in contact with Alex about speaking to your group. Alex, let's go back and talk about Asperger's, which is a form of autism, as mentioned. And this is something a lot of people go, yeah, I've heard about that, but I don't really fully understand it. Explain what Asperger's is.
Well, now it sort of actually has a new name, which is like high functioning autism disorder, or autism spectrum disorder.
Yes.
Order. They kind of changed the name, and which, because I kind of understand, because the original name Asperger's was basically very confused all the time, especially considering that some people kind of mispronounce it, and I admit I mispronounce the word sometimes. But anyway, Asperger's is basically autism, but imagine as in a person who's not fully autistic, as in, like, you kind of can see a little bit of a difference. And the way I put it in like my YouTube video, which was very simple, is imagine if I was only 50% autistic and the 50% of the rest of me is basically the average person. So I do have some capabilities and some social abilities that makes me almost seem identical to the average person, but there's that 50% of me that's completely autistic and stuff, and that sometimes shows itself and basically like almost gives me a different identity. It's kind of like two different personalities almost, if you want to put it that way.
Well, and the YouTube video is so good because you do such an excellent job of breaking down. And yeah, you explain it as, half of me is, half of me isn't. And you really break it down so we can understand it. It's interesting you were diagnosed at age 6. And shortly after you were diagnosed, you read a news story, a woman who had the same disorder, and she did a video. So even at an early age, but this was planted in your mind that, yes, I think I can relate to people. I think that might be my gift by doing the video. That's how this all started?
Yeah, basically so. I kind of actually, in fact, I didn't know, I was diagnosed when I was 6, but I didn't really know what it was called until I was like maybe in my early teens. But I always had to go through a lot of things where I had to explain things to people to try to get them to understand why I'm having these issues and stuff. And just one day I came across a video on the news about some person who has autism does something that explains her disorder and everything. And after a few weeks passed, I almost felt, I do my best to help explain to my family and my friends about why I have these issues. Maybe I should actually make my own YouTube video explaining about my disorder, and that's really what came.
I'd like to interject here that Alex has a very unique mind. He has the capability of really giving you insight through practical analogies. For examples, he can't stand noises that get very loud and go into his head. Well, during the course of his development of the video, he came up with the idea of a dream catcher. Now, a dream catcher, all of the ideas come in and they filter, and only the good ones go through to the brain. And the ones that are unhappy, whatever, jangle out there as if it was like a fishing net. And in his mind, all of these noises that distract him are like fish jumping around in there. As a result, he cannot be in a room where there's a lot of noise and distractions because he's listening to each conversation. And that brings on a mental breakdown and anxiety. Right now, you cannot see Alex, but another aspect of it is tactile. Alex is sitting Indian style because that gives him comfort. So there are many ways that people get comfort who have Asperger's. Maybe Alex would like to tell us some of the things that give you comfort.
Oh, are you sure? Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you want to continue stealing the show from me?
Well, we're on for half an hour. And by the way, we didn't have a love relationship when we made the book. I would walk out and say, that's it. But Alex would then apologize and we'd get back to work. And I'd have to apologize very rarely, of course. Mm-hmm. Okay, Alex, go ahead. I don't want to.
Well, and I want to say the book, if you're just joining us on the program, is called In My Mind, A Journey Through My Life with Asperger's and Autism. Our guest on the program is Alex Olinkowitz, along with Dr. Richard O'Connell, who collaborated on the book. And Alex was diagnosed at an early age with having Asperger's. And we're talking about some of the things, Alex, that are difficult for you to do. And you explain them in the video. And again, you do such an excellent job of breaking it down. Talk about some of the problems. The doctor mentioned earlier the 8 symptoms, which you talk about in the book. What are some of the things that give you difficulty that you're not able to do?
Well, I can actually tell like a few things. One is, one simple thing is I can never actually handle a pencil. Which is one of the hard parts when it came to going in school because, there's a lot of things like tests where you have to take them with using a pencil, and that was always the biggest nightmare with me because some people always got confused when I kept telling them I had problems with pencils. They always thought like, oh, Alex, you're holding a pencil. Oh, why are you not having issues? And I'm telling them it's not that it's me holding the pencil. It's literally the way the lead like scrapes against the paper, which makes that scraping noise. And even that feeling of the pencil moving, vibrating up to my arm, all the way up to my head, it just really makes me feel so uneased and so uncomfortable. I can never be in a room when someone's writing a pencil. Just that noise alone just gives me this shiver that just makes me feel so damn uncomfortable. And it's not just pencils, they can actually be other things. Like recently, someone was actually scraping rocks together, and that scraping was like really getting to me really bad. There are certain things like that I cannot handle.
Now, music is interesting. Some music is okay?
Yeah, actually, that's really what's interesting. Surprisingly for me, my types of music are actually some are mixed with like basic rock music too. Even slight ones with like the people like screaming, which, when people actually see me and like I'm in like a room full of, people actually yelling out different things, you're kind of wondering how the hell do I feel comfortable listening to some songs that have like actually a person screaming at the top of their lungs in the microphone. And well, I think that the biggest difference is that, the person screaming in the music, that actually is like it's following the melody of the song. It's like how the song is built. And there's actually a flow. It actually is a smooth conveyor belt flow almost. It just follows nicely. When it comes to a crowd of people making different noises, there's no flow. There's no music that it flows into. There's no like connection with each other. They're actually just a bunch of random noises. Like you could probably argue that, if you listen carefully, you can almost try to make out a music in it. But, again, these are just random words coming from different angles, different areas. but they're not put in any order or setup that actually makes it nicely flow nicely through my head. And that's basically what, like, why some music doesn't bother me in a sense. Like, don't get me wrong, I can't listen to any songs that are just screaming. There has to be like a nice mix of it, like
Right.
actually, like it's almost like a compromise in my mind, because sometimes that flow and then that screaming moment is actually all right with me, because it has the right kind of flow where I can actually handle that moment where it jumps up into this like screaming moment and then goes back to this flow with the music. It just, it's just that basic works.
Alex, would you talk about that incident on the ferry? Because I think it was a very traumatic incident in your life and really affected you deeply. In fact, I think it still affects you.
Yeah, that thing affects me a lot. Do you
And
want
this,
to?
yeah, and you talk about it in the book, In My Mind, A Journey Through My Life with Asperger's and Autism. Alex Olinkowitz is our guest on the program, along with Dr. Richard O'Connell, who collaborated with Alex in the book. The website where you can get information on the book is fhautism.com, fhautism.com. If you're interested in having Alex and the doctor come and speak, its email is docrock16@msn.com. If you're traveling and you can't get all that information down, just go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and we will have that there. Yeah, this is what goes back to 2008, around Christmas time, on a ferry. Explain the circumstances there, and it's very enlightening.
Yeah, this is always something that could tend to give me tears in my eyes, because it's always a hard thing to recap. When I was like my mom lives in like Maine, and I live in like New York, and on the Long Island of New York, and basically you have to take this large ferry with a bunch of cars in it and stuff to get to Long Island to Connecticut, and then travel to Maine. And I went there to visit my mom, and after I visited her, I had a couple of gifts that I got. I got like like if people remember, there was that video game called Rock Band where you had the plastic guitars and the drum set and
Yes.
everything.
Yep.
Like, I got that, and of course that box is pretty big and stuff. And I also had my laptop, which back in the day, I always had to travel with my laptop. I still do that now, but not as much so as it was back in the day, because back in the day I was still in school and stuff, so I always traveled with it so much that I actually got myself like this like suitcase. It looked like almost like you can imagine like the president carrying the suitcase with the handcuffs on it. But
Yes.
yeah, but I had that suitcase so I can have my laptop perfectly protected and stuff. And I also had like a bunch of bags too. And my dad was on the boat too. Anyway, so this is just getting to the point that I did had a lot of stuff to carry and everything. And I kind of actually made this one mistake where the ferry stops, and Dad was suggesting that we wait until all the cars get off. But unfortunately, I was just very uncomfortable being up there on the boat. I actually really wanted to just get off, so I kind of suggested that we just go now and stuff. And so we head down there, and basically, of course, this ferry doesn't have like large amounts of spaces. In fact, there's like barely any spaces between the cars. It's one of those ferries that gets a lot of vehicles in, but they make sure to cram them in like a sardine can. So there's like almost barely any footing to get out and everything. But anyway, I still wanted to leave, and I had all this stuff on me, including like I'm holding up the big box of the Rock Band while I have the laptop suitcase strapped to my shoulder, and we're just like trying my best to slowly get through the cars. And then once I reached like the final car, like once I reached the end where I can actually exit, I was moving very slowly, and I can actually clearly see in the car the guy was like staring at me, which made me feel more uncomfortable. And I was slowly, and then suddenly I just heard a thump, and then the next thing I knew, the guy literally swung his hands up and slammed his hands right onto the car horn, and I was like directly in front of the car horn, and because I was like holding this big box, I couldn't like drop it and cover my ears or anything, so I was completely exposed to the loud noise. I took a moment to move out of the way and actually got in the corner, and then basically what I had was just a guy coming out through the door, walking up to me like saying, "You scratch that." thing, you're gonna pay for all the whatever damages you did and everything. And I was like kind of like destroyed almost by the yelling and the confusion. My mind was basically just full of so many tense thoughts. And I even like tried my best to just reply saying like I'm sorry or something. And this guy just really was saying stuff that I couldn't really even remember because they were just like, and it was like almost even like I had to say, looking at it back now, the guy was pretty pathetic because there was like barely any signs of a scratch on his car, and he was basically holding the line of people who just want to leave. Because
well, yeah, and people are saying it's not that bad. In fact, some people were saying, "What? We can't really see that you've done any damage at all."
Yeah, and you know, and the fact is, I was like so traumatized to the point that my dad just basically told me that Alex, just can you walk away for a bit? I'll take care of this. And I can clearly hear my dad literally trying to talk to the guy, telling him that I had to have the disorder and everything, which is why I'm like having trouble trying to speak or understand him and stuff. And basically, I was just in the corner, just trying to cope my mind and stuff. And basically, once my dad was done talking to him and basically walked towards me and everything, and he was bringing me to the car, I just burst in tears. I just like was crying for hours on end, and I couldn't think. I really was like lost with all this emotion. I was just way too traumatized. So traumatized, it was really a point I really could not go on a ferry by myself or anything. I just really lost it.
How long did it last? How long did this trauma last?
I would say almost a few days, maybe like 2, 3, or 4. That's my best guess because it was long, pretty long now.
Yeah, to try to rationalize it, and you talk in the book, In My Mind, A Journey Through My Life with Asperger's Autism, that mental pain is one thing, but when there's emotion behind it, it's really difficult to deal with, and that was the case with the guy who was in the car.
Yeah. I mean, I always kind of like say that there's like always a different feeling you get when it comes to feeling pain from injury to feeling pain from in your head. Like people say, you can always get over pain in your that you get. Like if you got a cut, you can get over that pain a bit, which I actually can pretty well. But when it comes to actually the pain that comes through in my head, it has such a weird impact. It has a different reaction. It behaves differently than a pain as an injury and stuff. And that kind of pain is something that's really difficult for me to handle.
We've got a few minutes left in the program, going by way too quickly. Our guest in the program is Alex Olinkowitz. His book is called In My Mind, A Journey Through My Life with Asperger's and Autism. Collaborated with Dr. Richard O'Connell, who's with us on the program as well. The website to get information on the book is very simple, fhautism.com. Information is available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and Alex is available and Dr. O'Connor are available for speaking, and they do a number of these speaking engagements, getting rave reviews across the country. Let's talk a little bit in the time remaining about the difficulty getting people to understand your situation, because you don't have, an outward physical disability. Does that make it difficult for people to understand exactly what you're dealing with?
Yeah, I actually have to say that's probably, it is very difficult because when it's something you can't see and it's just basically something about how your brain works, it literally, like, people do have their own debates or something about it and really almost find it, oh, this is like just complete made up stuff or mirrors. I mean, I kind of went through like a lot of times where I did get like a couple of comments on YouTube of people literally saying this guy is a total faker or something like that, which, I'm always bound to expect that because everyone, there are people who just literally think that because that if they don't see any physical problems, then the person is not like doesn't have any mental disorders or so. It's basically like that.
Could I just interject
Sure.
here? Two important things. When I first met Alex, I thought he was going to be homebound in front of a TV for the rest of his life. He's 24 now.
About.
And he's accomplished two things that are extraordinary, and I want him to talk about them because it gives hope to families that have children with Asperger's. What's going to happen with my son or daughter? Alex, what are the two things that you've accomplished?
Well, a few months ago, I got my license. I can actually drive. Which,
Great. Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. I would say right off the bat, I wasn't really expecting to be able to drive until now. I kind of actually have to say it was probably thanks to one, I'm going to call video games because video games gave me better hand-eye coordination. And, again, I'm going to just be frank that I can drive, but that doesn't mean I'm like can drive everywhere or something. Like I live in in a small town that is almost like there's barely any cars out, and it's a very relaxing place. So I'm never really in an uncomfortable position too much when I'm on the island.
Right.
So I'm able to drive around pretty easily. But I can't handle like things like big highways and stuff like that. Like when there's actually more traffic and stuff, and not unknown people who have different behaviors. I can actually have a hard time handling driving. But for the most part, I can actually I am able to drive around town, go to the stores and everything like that, which definitely has been a big improvement.
And Dr. O'Connor was talking about another
Yes, and another
breakthrough
big
that you had.
achievement was that he's living independently on his own in his own apartment, a small house. Talk about that.
Well, sort of. I am living on my own. I don't. I'm sort of like I don't exactly have my own works with monies or bills or anything right now. Part of that my dad is taking care of right now until things like my book or my other projects that I'm working on or so might hit off and everything. So right now my dad's taking care of the money problems right now, but I am sort of living in my own place, I'm living in right now a small house with and basically I'm decently capable enough to handle a lot of things by myself, and that is definitely, I would say, is an improvement, of course.
Well, you are giving hope to so many people. That's why the book is so important in my mind. A Journey Through My Life with Aspergers and Autism. It's written by Alex Olinkowitz in collaboration with Dr. Richard O'Connell. Both have been on the program today. Both are available for speaking. They do extensive speaking around the country, bringing the message of hope. The YouTube video link is available at our website as well. A lot to remember in the program, but if you go to fhautism.com, you'll get information on the book. We've got the email that'll be on our website, thisweekinamerica.us, to contact Dr. O'Connell to ask about speaking engagements. And we'll also have the link there for YouTube, which has been viewed, as I said, by 1.3 million people. It has been educational for many people. It has been inspirational and a message of hope for many people who someone in the family is suffering from a form of autism. Alex, it has been a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you so much. Congratulations on all the success that you've had, and we definitely will stay in touch. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks very much for having me on.
And Dr. O'Connor, thank you so much for being there and for all you've done and being there with all through the years with Alex and helping to guide him forward. And thank you for being with us on the program.
I'm very grateful. And Alex did all of this work because he wants to help people. So thank you for having us.
It is our pleasure. And Alex, you've mentioned that you found the gift, and the gift is reaching out and helping other people and inspiring other people. And you definitely have done that. All the information available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us.